If you are planning to buy a new build home in Scotland, there is a number of things that you need to take into consideration. Lots of things that can impact the purchase. And today I'm going to talk to you about the three main things that crop up when I'm talking to clients who are planning to buy a new build. The first thing that you would need to take into consideration is the entry date. Now, the reason that I would say that this is a consideration that you need to make is because when you buy a new build, you're often buying around 6 to 9 months in advance and sometimes longer, especially if it is an independent builder. Sometimes the bigger builders will do the same, and they'll want you to conclude the missives early. So, understanding the entry dates and the impact that that could have on your application is really, really important. The reason that I'm telling you this is because some mortgage lenders will actually only offer a mortgage for 3 months. Some might offer it for 6 months, but even that may not be long enough for you if you're planning to buy a new build. You need to be taking into consideration the fact that there could potentially be delays when you're buying it, given weather conditions, given the delay in obtaining materials. All of these kind of factors need to be taken into consideration when you plan to buy a new build. So if you're using a mortgage lender that is happy to offer you a mortgage for 6 months, but the build and the expected entry date is 5 months away, I would say you need to strongly consider a lender that's either going to allow you to extend that offer or a mortgage lender that's going to offer beyond a 6 month period. Also, it's really, really important to factor in the fact that you're going to be concluding missives early in the process. Likely that after a month or 2 months of applying for a mortgage, you're going to be concluding the missives. If you conclude these missives and your mortgage deal expires in 6 months and you haven't moved in yet, that means that you're still liable to buy that property. The missives is a legal contract that you're saying that you're going to buy the property. So it's really, really important that if you are planning to buy a new build, that your offer is going to be valid long enough. Brings me on to the next thing that often crops up when buying new build, and that is the deposit requirements. Often, if you get a mortgage in principle, especially if you're planning to get yourself ahead of the game and getting it early, if you get yourself a mortgage in principle that say allowing you to buy with a 5% deposit, you need to make sure before you reserve any new build property that that 5% deposit is going to be available on the new build. Some lenders won't do 5% deposits in new build. There's lenders out there who will, but some don't do it. So you need to make sure that the lender that you've chosen is going to do it. That's really, really important. Also, take into consideration at this stage the property type. If you're planning to buy a flat, for example, there's lenders out there, who would do it. But again, it's reduced. And the amount of lenders who are going to offer on low deposits when you buy a flat that's brand new is a lot less than what's available out there on the open market. So take those kind of things into consideration. What might be a factor is that the lender might be able, or sorry, the builder might be able to produce a gifted deposit helping you out. So if you've got your 5%, the builder may be able to produce 5% for you, meaning that your total deposit contribution is 10, which is great because what that does is it increases your deposit, reduces your risk, gives you access to potentially lower interest rates and lower monthly payments because you're borrowing less money. But what it could also do is reduce the amount of lenders available to you because not every lender out there will allow that deposit contribution from the builder if you're only putting in your 5% deposit. So take these things into consideration and make sure that your lender is going to accept this. And then, as I touched on there, incentives is huge. So if you are buying with a 5% deposit, but you're also getting things like your white goods paid for, your solicitor fees, your legal fees, moving costs, make sure that the lender that you're choosing is going to allow you to take these incentives into consideration. What some lenders will do is they'll take the value of that away and you would be forced to pay that as a higher deposit. So take incentives into consideration as well. Always look to talk to a mortgage broker who's experienced in new build, because it's half the battle. If you're planning to buy a new build property, it's important that either you understand it or your mortgage broker understands it. So make sure that you're asking your mortgage broker the question. If they work with the new build industry and they understand the process, they understand what the builders are looking for, and they understand how best to protect you. And if their answer to that is yes, then brilliant. But if not, it might be time to find another broker. But I hope you found this useful. As always, if you've got any questions, feel free to fire them over to me. And if you've got any comments, fire them in the comments and I'd be happy to get back to you. Don't forget to subscribe for future videos to keep up to date with hints and tips on mortgages. Cheers.